Thank you, Peter. Now, Dr. Anand Ramanan, the president of Sri Ramanashram, is going to talk.
Antaryasya bahi vidutatimiram jyotirmayam shashvatam sthanam prapya virajate vinamata ajnanam unmulayan ashyan vishamapita mullasati yo vishwasya pare paraha tasmai Shri Ramanaya loka guruve shokasya hantre namaha tupparivilla ippirapenpayan uppidavayen Arunachala. Good evening to all the fellow Atmans steeped in the rasa of Bhagavan's glory, especially to the brilliant young minds who have been enthralling us by their flawless performance. It was a great pleasure to celebrate the 127th Advent Day, the day of great significance, the day that symbolizes the greatest act of surrender and the self-surrender exemplified by a 16-year-old sage coming to the lap of his father from the comfort of his mother from Madurai to Arunachala and Tiruvannamalai. This opened the greatest path, the shortest path towards self-inquiry and mukti for the of sincere or from all devotees. Friends, on the September 1st, we had the traditional celebration of Bhagavan's advent to Arunachala. Again, it was a simple but a solemn puja, an affirmation of our commitment to the following of his teachings on that day. After the puja, we had a celebration of kinds. On that day, on most special days, the ashram cook likes to make a sambar called kadamba sambar. He likes to throw in all kinds of vegetables to make a sambar. The significance of that just struck me this morning. After all, aren't we like different kinds of vegetables, and whose rasa, whose essence, whose flavor, whose taste is cooked slowly and beautifully for all of us to taste and enjoy in each other's uniqueness. And together we pay homage to the greatest teacher ever. And in that way, we are not only paying a homage to Bhagavan, but in a way, we are paying homage to each other and to ourselves. For Bhagavan Ramana did not come on this earth to show how great he was, but he came to make us all Ramanas by simply giving away his highest teachings in a nutshell, in a small book at the age of 21. Friends, today, I want to say that celebration, the Kadambam that we had, was a unique gathering of many devotees. The traditional group of devotees from Madurai, who are very simple but dedicated folks with their unique way of practicing Bhagavan's teachings, came like a whirlwind and took over the whole ashram, the Arunachaleshwara temple, which is traditional. Then we had the flavor from Australia, head by Sri Sanjay Raghav and his group of devotees who enacted the path done by our own Dennis Hotel in 1996, where they traced the journey of Bhagavan and came on September 1st to Arunachala. And then we had our own Carlos, whose book was released on that day. We had regional books from Gujarati, which was released on that day, and multiple singing. Of course, the highlight of that day was the release of the album of our own Srimati Sangeeta Swaminathan, Bhaje Ramana Namam 2. This is a beautiful homage to the master through compositions of Muruganar set in a beautiful, easy to sing, melodious way by this gifted singer and ably assisted by our family and the other devotees. And what was also heartwarming was Sanjay Raghav also on that day released an Australian version of that book of the previous Bhaje Ramana Namam, which the devotees in Australia chanted every satsang. So every act that we perform as a homage to our master continues to gather momentum, and we don't even realize the impact of what we are doing because this is for eternity. So friends, my talk today is on two folds. The first is why we are doing it. As you know, the younger generation, the why is more important than the how, and why we are celebrating it. And for that, I'm going to say, why Bhagavan? I'm going to read from a beautiful article by Professor Swaminathan, the greatest teacher the world has seen. And that will explain the why, some portions of it, and how and why this is important, why the service to Bhagavan is so important, and what you are all doing is not something that you're veering off the path of self-inquiry, but it is the greatest Guru Bhakti, that Guru Seva that you can do to Bhagavan, and that has been vouchsafed by the Master himself. And I would start by reading some sections from this beautiful essay by Professor Swaminathan. The detailed descriptions of a Jivan Mukta, as found in the Upanishads, the Gita, Viveka Chudamani, and other religious classics, were fully borne out by the experience and behavior of Sri Ramana. His act and telling expositions of Advaita Vedanta brought its truth home to the simplest of folks. Quote, the world as filled with Brahman is real as the world filled with life. But the world cut off from Brahman and regarded as self-dependent is unreal like a corpse, end of quote. The search for meaning and purpose is the search for reality. To a question of the relation between Karma Yoga and Nishkama Yoga, he gave an answer in the manner of a Zen master. Without uttering a word, he walked up the hill, picked up a stick, and fashioned it into a walking stick. He gave it to a passerby shepherd boy who was looking for a stick. Then he said, the making of the walking stick is Karma Yoga. The gift of it is Nishkama Yoga. The sage did not make it or take it for himself. Similarly, the making and eating of appalams served as an allegory and a sacrament. Apart from his spoken, acted, and written teachings, the simple human friendliness of Bhagavan showed the utter saulabhya, the easy accessibility of the ultimate truth. When it graciously chooses to embody itself in human form. Bhagavan was not merely a yogi or a teacher or a saint. He was a seer, a being comprehending and transcending all these lower categories. And he succeeded in being a friend of everyone, sinner or saint, prince or peasant, old or young, learned or ignorant, man or woman, cow, dog, monkey, or peacock. Many years ago, J.C. Maloney, ICS, noted how his hound preferred the hermit's company to his own. Hundreds of quite ordinary human visitors to the ashram were treated by the Maharshi like intimate friends, who took the most sympathetic interest in all their personal affairs, the train they came by, the food they ate, the marriage, the deaths, the appointments, and promotions that occurred in their families. No one felt that he or she was unimportant or unwanted. Women and Harijans were no less welcome than learned Brahmins to this charmed circle. To all he taught humility without humiliating any, as he taught self-surrender without loss of freedom. If the good teacher is a friend who joins you where you are and leads you up from that point to the mountaintop of truth, then Maharshi is the greatest teacher the world has seen, because he refused to stretch us on a Procrustean bed of creed or conduct. He did not merely concede as a matter of formal politeness, but convinced everyone of his devotees and disciples that there are as many distinct ways of reaching the goal as there are unique human individuals. As I'm not tired of repeating it, friends, we do not choose Bhagavan as our guru. He chooses us to be his disciples. We are all unique in that unique family that we've been chosen by the master. His more than mother-like tenderness made no harsh choice between one friend and another among the thousands of his friends, and his steady, calm, unfailing cheerfulness and rock-like certainty sprang from his conviction that the world process must end in the final release of all beings. Quote, when the ego rises, the mind is separated from its source, the self, and is restless like a stone thrown up into the air, or like the waters of a river. When the stone or the river reaches its place of origin, the ground or the ocean, it comes to rest. So too, the mind comes to rest and is happy when it returns to and rests in its source. As the stone and the river are sure to return to its starting place, so too the mind will inevitably at some time return to its source. Thus all reach its goal. Happiness is your nature. Is it not wrong to desire it? What is wrong is seeking it outside when it is inside. End of quote. Which guru can be so optimistic, cheerful, and so reassuring? I cannot think of anybody. All we have to do is trust every word of this unique teacher and plunge it. In his conversation with children, birds, and animals, one noticed with envy the outflow of a more active, spontaneous grace, because no doubt these unspoiled creatures were more at home in his world of intellectual joy. Although in intellectual discussion, Maharshi took his uncompromising stand on Shankara's Advaita Vedanta and disclaimed any originality, still he popularized, if he did not invent, a technique of self-analysis which renders easy and aseptic that essential operation which destroys the mind and releases the spirit from its entanglement with the world and the flesh. Quote, his method is practical and when understood is quite scientific in its way. He brings no supernatural power and demands no blind religious faith. The sublime spirituality of Maharshi's atmosphere and the rational self-questioning of his philosophy find but a faint echo in the yonder temple of Arunachala. Even the word God is rarely on his lips. He advises, nay, warns every seeker not to sail in the dark and debatable waters of wizardry, in which so many promising voyages have ended ship in wreck. He simply puts forward a way of self-analysis which can be practiced irrespective of any ancient or modern theories and beliefs which one may hold, a way that will finally lead man to the self-knowledge. Many weapons invented by the great teachers and mankind of ruse against the devil have been taken hold of the devil himself, who cannot only quote scripture when it suits him, but also wield all the merits and siddhis of spiritual aspirants and turn them against their owners. The vast armory of virtues collected by good men only to be captured and utilized by devil have been quoted in the past by various spiritual masters. But the sober, scientific, introspective method of Sri Ramana makes and keeps ready for the enemy's hands all the pleasant means for his self-destruction. Friends, all questions that trouble the good men are reducible and should be reduced to the one question, who am I? Ultimately, the question, who am I, will lead to the discovery and realization of the self, the winning of the egoless state in which there are no questions and no answers, but only silence and only the calm joy of pure being. But on that long, lone way that stretches between ourselves as we are and that ultimate peace of our pure being, which is our final goal, the series of partial and tentative answers to the question, who am I, will always and inevitably lead to self-improvement at each level of thought, feeling, and action. I'll repeat it. This questioning will always and inevitably lead to self-improvement at each level of thought, feeling, and action. This is a path for a Dhiran, as Bhagavan wants. It's the teaching is simple, but the practice is persistent and tough. The query is the metaphysical master key to all the practical problems, for it opens to us the many lovely mansions of our beloved Master's house. Bhagavan has no creed of his own because he is egoless. What we can learn from him is the application to religion of the strictly scientific temper and the method of tentative, disinterested analysis. All beliefs are to be held only tentatively never bigoted because all beliefs will one day be consumed by the fire of experience of the self. The surrender of the I to a God, a creed, or an institution transfers our attachment from the I to the to my God, to my creed, my temple, my church, and this only strengthens the ego sense. The ego, whether of the individual I or the collective we, is the arch deceiver, Satan, the sole enemy of God and man. By the steady, disinterested, impersonal use of the scientific question, who am I? The devotee of this great master slowly develops into the true disciple of the sage. The guru without is slowly merged in the guru within. The knot of the mind, the ego sense, the chit jada granthi, which binds the real self to the world and the body, is worn out or cut off, and the joyous peace of pure being is attained. The primary ignorance or the original sin consists in the identification of ourself with the body. This can and should be got rid of by the tentative acceptance and the systematic practice of Bhagavan's teachings of self-inquiry. And the result will be seen for oneself by any honest experimenter. All earlier systems of meditation and spiritual practices are superseded and transcended by this final and all-comprehensive and all-powerful technique of Sri Ramanana. The ego life is not life but death. From this death of our ordinary life, we wake into immortality by passing in imagination through the death of body, as Bhagavan did in his 16th year by his dramatization of body's death. The danger of mere rationalism is avoided by devotion to the holy and beloved person of the Guru. Self-reliance, as commonly understood, is ego reliance, and it worsens bondage. Reliance on God alone is true self-reliance because he is the self, All the free will that we need and ought to enjoy can be exercised in the presence of the experiment and inquiry in the infinite variety of the application of the who am I, in the infinite application of the who am I. Bhagavan's simple message is, the best way for one to serve the world is to win the egoless state. If you are anxious to help the world, but think you cannot do so by attaining the egoless state, then surrender to God all the world's problems along with your own. Help yourself and you will help the world. Yes, helping yourself, you help the world. You are in the world, you are the world, you are the world, and world is in you. You do not help the world at all by watching, by wishing, or trying to do so, but by only helping yourself, that is, by realizing your perfection, It is open to the scientist to accept and apply the sage's method of inquiry. It is open to the devotee to surrender himself, herself, and his problems to the saint. And the saint and the sage in Sri Ramana will gently draw the intellect of the one and the heart of the other towards the distant but inescapable goal of Satchitananda, being consciousness bliss. Quote Bhagavan again. That one point where all religions meet is the realization, not in some mystical sense, but in the most worldly, most literal, and everyday sense. And the more worldly and everyday practical, the better, of the fact that God is everything and everything is God. End of quote. Friends, all the time and everywhere, we should know that the feeling that the unplumbed, salty, estranging sea of samsara, the sea of samsara, is a mere surface phenomenon, and that we mortal millions are not so many separate floating islands, but parts of a simple continent, all rooted in the solid and life-sustaining ground of being. Friends, this is the greatness of our unique master. And now I'll compliment each one of you for your service to Bhagavan. You all, like various flowers in the garden that worships Bhagavan, bring unique flavor, you bring unique fragrance to this experience. And this is not me telling it. Bhagavan, in midst of many conversations, has extolled selfless service performed without the I am the doer attitude and without expectation of fruit of actions as the most effective tool to purify the mind and make it one-pointed. Yes, he was clear that karma yoga would not lead to mukti on its own. He thought that the pure mind would then have to be investigated through vichara to reach the supreme goal of realization. But he never denounced karma yoga, service, or seva. He not only exhorted us not to stop at service, he recommended dropping karma or service only for fully ripe or pure souls. For most of us still striving and trying to purify ourselves, service is also an important way. In fact, in Ulladhu Narpadu Anubandham, he says, Guru Vinod Advaitam Seyyade. So, in fact, till you realize that ultimate stage, do not try to practice with the Guru or the truth as if you're already there. We have to be, first step is we have to be self-aware and know where we are on this path. And the service will bring the necessary humility to help us, to spur us on towards greater service, and also to foster a greater sense of equality and a community where each one of us can help us on this path. In the chapter 4, verse 34 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, quote, learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him with reverence, and render service unto him. Such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Bhagavan is also mentioned at many places, sadhu seva, the importance of it in talks. This is also a way to gain the grace of the Guru. In talk 287, in a talk with a Punjabi gentleman who is here to visit Bhagavan and who claims that he cannot meditate and he cannot have any peace of mind, in the end, Bhagavan tells him very simply, through an interpreter, to study who am I. And the Punjabi doctor was ready with his protestation. I have read it also. I cannot still make my mind concentrate. But Bhagavan says, by practice and dispassion, abhyasa vairagyam. Devotee, vairagya is necessary. Maharshi, abhyasa and vairagya are necessary. Vairagya is the absence of diffuse thoughts. Abhyasa is the concentration of one thought only. The one is the positive and the other the negative aspect of meditation. Devotee, I am not able to do so by myself. I am in search of a force to help me. Then Bhagavan says, yes, what is called grace. Individually, we are incapable because the mind is weak. Grace is necessary. Sadhu seva is meant only for it. There is, however, nothing new to get. Just as a weak man comes under the control of a stronger one, the weak mind of a man comes under the control easily in the presence of a strong-minded sadhu. That which is only grace. It's only grace. There is nothing else. Questioner, I request your blessings for the good of myself. And Bhagavan says, yes, yes. And how can I not mention Dennis? Dennis was fond of quoting this talk 296 and to bring home another point. And this is regarding the shepherd boy Poovan. Poovan, a shepherd, I'm just going to read it. Poovan, a shepherd, says that he knows Sri Bhagavan since 30 years ago, the days of Virupaksha cave. He used at times to supply milk to the visitors in those days. Some 6 years ago, he had lost a sheep for which he was searching for 3 days. The sheep was pregnant and he had lost all hopes of recovering her because he thought that she had been set upon by wild animals. He was one day passing by the ashramam when Sri Bhagavan saw him and inquired how he was. The man replied that he was looking out for a lost sheep. Sri Bhagavan kept quiet. Sri Bhagavan kept quiet, as is usual with him. Then he told the shepherd to help in lifting some stones, which he did with great pleasure. After the work was finished, Sri Bhagavan told him, go this way, pointing the footpath towards the town. You will find the stray sheep on the way. So he did, and found the lost sheep with 2 little lambs. He now says, what a Bhagavan is this? Look at the force of his words. He is great. He never forgets even a poor man like me. He remembers my son Manikam also with kindness. Such are the great ones. I am happy when I do any little work for him, such as looking to the cows when they are in heat. Dennis would say, Bhagavan could have shown Poovan the sheep at the very beginning, but he got him to help lift some stones for him before showing him grace. Friend, I think it's in a way so that Poovan does not get any additional janma to repay the kindness shown by Bhagavan. This is the all-encompassing grace of our Master. This is also the experience of all of us. This is the experience of all our devotees who dedicate their lives to serving Bhagavan. We can read his words, chant all his hymns, go on Girivalam dozens of times, but his grace manifests when we serve him in this ashram with complete devotion and purity. Grace is a revelation of Bhagavan in our heart. As we serve him joyously and relentlessly, our egos get weakened, thoughts get naturally stilled, and the mind merges in the heart more often, the supreme center of bliss and peace. Personally, I can also start to begin to speak about, say, this experience. I've been fortunate to see my grandfather, my father, blossom into spiritual ripeness through this selfless service to Bhagavan in this ashram. I've seen my own brother Ravi mellow down and get withdrawn into the heart through his commitment to serving the ashram until last breath. See it now in my mother and fellow devotees. So many selfless sadhaks every day. These are pure Siddha Purushas, just marvelously. And all of you are too. They are all apostles of Bhagavan, and they are all the signposts. Friends, that is the bhavam or attitude we should all have. To feel that Bhagavan is using us as his instrument and serve him to the best of our abilities. In chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, for action that is in accordance with the scriptures, free from attachments and aversion, and done without desire for rewards, is the mode of goodness or sattva, the verse 23. The performer is said to be in the mode of goodness or sattvic, when she is free from egotism and attachment, endued with enthusiasm and determination, and equipoised in success and failure, the verse 26 of Ulladinarpadu Anubandham. So let us play our roles in the drama of life as sage Vasishta enjoins Lord Rama. And I know we are all striving on the inward journey to reach our true selves and Bhagavan's grace by serving him to the best of our abilities. Now, I would be failing in my duty by mentioning various activities going on. You know, friends, the ashram is strengthened by the greatest devotees on the world. And I feel it's my duty to be transparent and to let you know. And I know you all rejoice. And that is a common refrain I get. They all say, oh, I get more joy in seeing the little growth in the ashram than my own personal, say, winning the lottery or winning, huge success in the world. That's our devotees. So I like to just bring it up to you. The ashram is like the tree, and the various satsang centers are like the strong branches, each growing every day. And the growth of Arunachala Ashrama continues to get stronger and stronger. On September 30th, I know Mohanji would have mentioned, I look forward to being with all of you. And when we celebrate the ashram's centenary event by the wonderful function that we are going to have with Ramana Balachandra, Veena performance, and the talk by Swami Sarvapriyananda. And I would love to be with all of you. I also want to acknowledge the various centers, and we all see each one of you are unique and bring such quality and uniqueness to the vibrancy of this program. But I want to mention one thing as we go along, and as we in the mountain path, we are going to have an active section growth for the young children, the Bala, for they are our future. And the continuing this theme, my hats off to the DC, Washington DC Satsang Group and all its great volunteers for conducting the online children Satsang group. And I request that next year we have participation from all our friends from all world over. For this is a online program, so any great budding mind can join in this wonderful program. And the curriculum is going to evolve, and it's going to get only stronger. In the new mountain path, that new version of the mountain path, we are going to have a new section of the youth section where we're going to have specific articles for the young children, the young minds, and so that they get into Bhagavan's way along with their parents' inspiration through the support of the journal and all of us, so that they can discover Bhagavan at an early age. While on this topic, we also, the Ramana Maharshi Heritage website continues to grow. We are going to bring the regional books of Bhagavan in, and that is one of my pet projects. The Bhagavan's major works have been translated by great devotees in various Indian languages and various world languages. And as a part of the centenary function, we are bringing it out. And this Aradhana, the Advent Day, we brought out 2 Gujarati books, and we are going to bring out many more Gujarati books, 2 Bengali books, Marathi books, and other world languages. But we also need an outlet for those books for the people living outside India. And the Ramana Maharshi Heritage will serve as to distribute these books. And I thank the leadership of Bhaskar Kumaresan and Sri Pottaraju for their brilliant efforts in this aspect. Now, as a part of my journey, I've been traveling, accepting invitations to various satsang centers. And we've been traveling in South India, in very small towns. In fact, yesterday, we had a brilliant function in a town called Tirunelveli. And before that, we had in a suburb of Chennai, we had a function. And what the uniqueness was, both these functions were held in a high school. And in both places, there were 300 to 400 high schoolers who chanted Aksharamanamalai beautifully and sat and listened to the whole program with rapt attention. And afterwards, had some good questions to ask about the teachings of Bhagavan. So this is I feel it's a flow of a grace that is taking us on this journey. Similarly, on that part, the IIT Delhi I was privileged to be there, and to the many IITians in the audience, hats off to you. I could feel the intelligence in that place, and thanks to Bhagavan, I didn't feel that I did not belong there. And they are teaching the ethical values, and the professor in IIT Delhi has a beautiful curriculum on Who Am I, which is one of the most popular course, and the success of which is having many IIT centers to want to have that same course. And if we have to do that, we will need some volunteer devotees to offer their time to do the online teaching. And I'm sure the brilliant minds amongst you, I could draw upon some of you to help me on that part. Finally, on the September 30th, we again look forward to releasing the album of Srimati Sangeeta Swaminathan, the beautiful album which was released here, and we will formally release it in North America. And it's I think most of you have heard it already, and it's a beautiful tribute to the master. Friends, I would again thank each one of you, and especially the small children, the brilliant skits that they provided for us, wherein the teachings of Bhagavan comes out so beautifully and so simply. Their the energetic chanting, with devotion, brings tears to the eyes. And I want to thank Arunachala Ashram for bringing this flavor and to enable the celebration, the joy of Bhagavan in our lives through this function. And may we all strengthen the hands of Mohanji and the beautiful administration of Arunachala Ashram by our volunteering. And I look forward to doing so. I look forward to seeing each one of you on September 30th. And thank you for your attention. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand Ramanan, for your talk and also to encourage all of us to do better. Now I request Srimati Sushila Ramanan to sing the Sharanagati.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Sarana Gati Sarana Gati Parana Saranam Agati ini puga tunaida edu ni pugala ini puga tunai dan edu ni ugalai sarana agati smaranatyadi pala aruna Salire Ramana Marana Yati Pala Aruna Salanire Ramana Karuna Varuna Sri Ramana Karuna Varuna Sharana Gati Tarunam Yedu Andro One Karune no Katve Tarunam Yedu Andro One Karune no Katve Kala Aradhana Kedil Cheve Kala Aradhana Kedil Save Tunbay Niki Yenbay அழிக்க என்னன்பாம் உலக துன்பை நீக்கி இன்பை அழிக்க என்னன்பா என்னும் பரா முகம் என்ன தாளாதையா ஸ்ரீவேதிய என்னும் பரா முகம் என்ன தாளாதைய ஸ்ரீரமண சரண கதி பரண சரண கதி. ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீரமண.
Thank you, Sushila Mami, very much. Thank you.